everyone, Rune here, and this is chapter 2 of my What If Ash Met Meowth First story. In the last chapter we went over how Ash and Meowth met, as well as the start of Ash's Pokemon journey in this new story. To quickly recap, Ash had met Meowth when he was just a little kid on the day he'd gotten caught in a storm in the middle of the woods. During this storm, while helping some other Pokemon, Ash had found a hurt and hungry Meowth that had gotten lost. Taking Meowth home with him to treat his wounds, Meowth had ended up staying with the Ketchums all throughout Ash's childhood. Meowth also taught Ash about being a trainer. The two inevitably decided that when Ash started his Pokemon journey, Meowth would be his starter. On the day that Ash did start his journey, Professor Oak asked him to take care of a Pikachu that had been causing some trouble. On their way to Viridian City, Ash also catches a Spearow and meets Misty, whom he becomes fast friends with. When the new Team Rocket of Jessie, James, and Porygon attack the Pokemon Center, Ash fights back with Meowth and Pikachu, convincing them that he has two very rare and unique Pokemon. Misty decides to join Ash on his journey, and while on their way through Viridian Forest, she confides in Ash about her fear of Gyarados. This is where the next chapter begins. The next morning after camping out in Viridian Forest, the small group of friends are attacked by Team Rocket, demanding that Ash hand over both Meowth and Pikachu. But before they can even finish their motto, Ash sends out Caterpie to tie them up with String Shot. This not only puts the crooks out of commission, but also causes Caterpie to evolve into Metapod. Leaving Team Rocket behind them, they continue through the forest. When Misty asks Ash about his plan to be the gym leader of Pewter City, he says that he's been trying to come up with a strategy and thinks he might have something. But for it to work, he and his Pokemon are going to need to do a lot of training. He asks Misty if she's alright with them stopping for a few minutes so he can do just that, and she agrees. While Ash is doing this, a strange boy dressed up as a samurai leaps out of the trees, swinging a toy katana. Jumping back in fright, Ash yells at the boy that he shouldn't go swinging that thing around at random people, and that he nearly gave him a heart attack. The boy apologizes for startling him and introduces himself as Samurai and says that he wants to have a Pokemon battle. Ash turns to his Pokemon. While he would like to have a battle, he's not sure if his team is up to it, as they have just spent a bit of time training. He asks them if they're up for it and is met with a unanimous agreement. For their first Pokemon, Samurai sends out Pinsir, while Ash sends out Metapod. When the Pinsir attacks, Ash tells Metapod to harden, causing Pinsir's spikes to break. This, combined with the earlier training, is enough to cause Metapod to evolve into Butterfree. Ash celebrates the evolution, stating that it brings them one step closer to defeating the first gym. When Samurai sends out his Metapod, Ash sends out Pikachu. He takes out the Metapod with a few Thunderbolts. Samurai congratulates Ash and invites him and Misty to his cabin for some food and rest. While they're there, they talk, and Samurai says that what he'd heard from the brown-haired boy of Pallet Town was completely wrong. Hearing this, Ash asks if the boy he's talking about is Gary. When Samurai confirms this, Ash sighs, saying that he should always take anything Gary says with a grain of salt. When Samurai asks why, Ash explains that Gary is a bully that has been tormenting him and Meowth for years. Upon hearing this, Misty empathizes with Ash, talking about her sisters and how they would treat her. Hearing this, Ash suggests that Misty should take part in the Pokemon League. After all, what better way to shut them up than by becoming one of the best trainers in the league? Misty says that she'll think about it and make her decision when they reach Pewter City. After spending the night in the cabin, Ash, Misty, and their Pokemon continue on their way. Finally arriving in Pewter City, they meet a strange man named Flint, who shows them the way to the Pokemon Center. While they're on their way, Ash asks Flint if there was perhaps somewhere he could buy a fishing rod. Flint says that the best place to buy one would be Vermilion City, but he could get a cheap one from the store near the center. Curious, Misty asks Ash why he wants to buy a rod, to which he says that it's a surprise. After getting his Pokemon healed up, the first thing on Ash's agenda is getting that fishing rod. Telling Misty to wait for them at the center, he runs off to the store. Once he has it, he asks Meowth if he knows of any good fishing spots. Meowth says that Pewter isn't exactly known for its water, but there are a few rivers where he could fish up something. Meowth leads Ash to a small river near an abandoned mill, where the 10-year-old then spends the rest of the day fishing. That night, Misty is starting to get worried about Ash, wondering if something has happened to him. Just as she's about to go looking for him, Ash comes running into the center with Meowth and Pikachu trailing behind him. He's covered in water and mud, but he, Meowth, and Pikachu have big grins on their faces. Spotting Misty quickly, he runs up to her and holds out a Pokeball. "Here, Misty, I caught this for you." Misty, stunned, asks what's in it, to which Ash explains that it's a Magikarp. He explains that he wants to help Misty overcome her fear of Gyarados, and he thought that maybe raising one from a Magikarp would help. Touched by his sentiment, Misty accepts the Magikarp. Smiling, she tells Ash that she's made up her mind about his suggestion. She's going to take on the Pokemon League too. The next morning, the group all head to the gym where they meet the gym leader, Brock. However, Brock states that he can't take on any challenges yet as he still needs to make breakfast for his little siblings. Feeling a little bad about having interrupted him, Ash offers to help, stating that Meowth is quite the proficient cook. Soon, Brock, Misty, Ash, and Meowth are cooking up a storm while Ash's other Pokemon play and distract Brock's little siblings. While they work, they talk and end up having quite a good time. After breakfast, they all head over to the gym to have their battles. Brock asks which one of them would like to go first, and Misty offers for Ash to have the first battle since her joining was his suggestion. When Brock sends out Geodude, Ash easily decides to send out Butterfree. Brock asks if Ash is sure of his choice, to which Ash states that Brock shouldn't judge based on appearance. The moment the match starts, Ash tells Butterfree to hit Geodude with Sleep Powder, then follow it up with Confusion. Upon seeing this, Misty grins, finally realizing what Ash had been planning. Desperate, Brock shouts for Geodude to wake up. However, before it could, Butterfree hit it with a second Confusion, knocking it out. When Brock sends out Onix, Ash calls Butterfree back and sends out Pikachu. This shocks Misty, who asks Meowth why Ash isn't sending him out, to which Meowth explains that he and Ash had talked it over the night before and decided that it would be cheating for our first gym. Meowth was already the strongest Pokemon on their team. In fact, if it wasn't for the fact that Meowth liked Ash, he probably wouldn't listen to anything the kid said. Just for reference, in terms of the main games, Pikachu, Spearow, and Butterfree would be levels 13 to 18, while Meowth would be about level 20 to 25. As soon as the next round starts, Brock orders Onix to use Bind, only for Ash to tell Pikachu to use Quick Attack to avoid it. As Brock tells Onix to go after Pikachu, Ash grins, telling Pikachu to use Quick Attack to dodge behind the rocks in the area. As Onix tries to catch up to the speedy little mouse, its massive bulk and poor turning causes it to crash into the rocks Pikachu is ducking behind. The rocks are injuring Onix, however the constant running is wearing Pikachu down, and there are times where he's not able to completely get away unscathed. Eventually, Pikachu finds itself against the wall of the gym, with Onix coming right at it. Brock calls that Pikachu has nowhere to go, only for Ash to order Pikachu to dive under the Pokemon barreling towards it. To everyone's shock, Pikachu dives away from the oncoming Pokemon. Onix, however, is unable to turn in time and slams right into the wall, knocking it out completely. Brock congratulates Ash on his smart strategy and gives him the Boulder Badge. He also gives Ash a Moonstone, thinking that he might find it useful. He then turns to Misty and asks if she would like to battle now. Misty asks if he's sure, and Brock nods, saying that he does still have 2 Pokemon that used to belong to his mum that can battle. Now, before we continue, I should explain the 2 Pokemon that Brock is going to be using here. First up, they are both fossil Pokemon. While none of the characters in the anime are seen using fossil Pokemon from my knowledge, Brock does use 3 fossil Pokemon in his rematch in the Let's Go games. It would also make more sense for these to be his late mother's Pokemon with the symbolism of age and such, and would also explain why he wouldn't use them for his normal battles. Misty takes up Ash's space at the field and sends out her Staryu, while Brock sends out Aerodactyl. The battle starts strong in Brock's favour as he has Aerodactyl use Bite on Staryu, getting a direct hit and causing Staryu to flinch. As Aerodactyl is coming back around for another attack, Misty tells Staryu to harden, reducing the damage. She then follows it up with Water Gun, causing massive damage. Before Aerodactyl can recover, Misty's Staryu uses one more Water Gun, knocking it out. The next Pokemon Brock brings out is Omanyte, while Misty keeps his Staryu. This time, Misty is the one to get first hit, Staryu pelting Omanyte with Water Gun, only to be shocked when it doesn't do nearly as much damage as she expected. This is explained by Brock, who tells her that Omanyte is part Water type. Now Misty is a little worried. She wasn't expecting her own type to be used against her, but she is still the former Cerulean gym leader and her Pokemon are very experienced, while Brock's using Pokemon suitable for challenging beginners. So it only takes 2 hits for Omanyte to go down. Brock congratulates Misty and gives her the Boulder Badge. Now, would Flint still show up? I'm going to say yes. I get the feeling he was planning on finally taking some responsibility before Ash and Misty arrived. He just needed a final push. And I think seeing Brock make friends with Ash and Misty would have been plenty a push. Also, I want to clear up how I'm going to be handling this series regarding all the retcons and move level ups and such. First off, for the moves that Pokemon learn, I will be using the anime for the most part, but where a character has a Pokemon that they don't canonically have, I will be using the most recent level up move system from the main games according to Cerebi. Now, in regards to the retcons of the anime, I will try to be as close to canon as possible, but I will be adding my own interpretations where I feel it is needed to clean up continuity. I will be drawing attention to these moments when they come up and explain my thought process. For example, in the Ruby and Sapphire series of the anime, Brock's mother is retconned from having passed away after Flint's departure to having left the family as well. I have never liked this retcon, as it means that Brock and his siblings have 2 parents that can't take responsibility. Instead, in this timeline, Lola is going to be Brock's stepmom, and Flint will have married her after Brock left for his journey in Kanto. This would be why she redecorated the gym and everything else in a family that fights together. She is trying to make Flint's children like her by bringing what she has to the table and is going a little overboard, unintentionally hurting them in the process. Also, representation for the win! With the human count of the party now up to 3, Ash and his friends continue their journey. On their way to Mount Moon, Misty tells Ash that they should just skip Cerulean Gym as his sisters are practically handing out badges like beads at Mardi Gras. Ash agrees that getting a badge from Misty's sisters would be cheating and not a true test of skill. They decide to hold off on the Cascade badge until they both have all of the other badges and will come back to show Misty's sister is what true strength is. And that, everyone, is where I'm going to leave the story for now. Join me next time as our adventurers begin their journey through Mount Moon. I'm Rune, see you next chapter.